I think you need three things to become truly limitless. So limitless as a title of my book was very specific because some people could say like, oh, that's not even possible. Limitless sounds too aspirational, but limitless is not about being perfect. Limitless is about advancing and progressing beyond what you currently are demonstrating or what you currently believe is possible. So I believe there are three forces. So we turn this into a little masterclass. So for your listeners, the opposite of making progress is being stuck. So I want everybody who's listening to think about an area where you're not getting traction. You're just stalled. You're stuck in a box, right? Now imagine that box. It could be your income, your health, your reading speed, your memory, whatever, right? If you're stuck in that box, a box by definition is three-dimensional, right? There are three forces that contain that box, right? It's 3D. The same three forces will liberate you out of that box. And I call it the limitless model. It's people have the book, they know what the image actually looks like inside, something like this, like a Venn diagram. And so the idea here is there are three forces because you control the controllables, right? You can't control the environment or everything, economic, whatever's going on, but you can control three things. And there are three M's. And I tend to alliterate a lot to make it easier to remember. So the first M is your mindset, right? And I'll get to your answer for purpose because it's the second M. So it's mindset. So you could be stuck in that box because you don't believe it's possible for you to get out of that box, or you don't believe maybe it's possible for somebody else, but you don't feel like you're capable of, right? So in that box, mindset for me is this definition of mindset, because we hear it a lot. My definition of mindset is the set of assumptions and attitudes you have about something, right? Your attitudes, assumptions about money, your attitudes, assumptions about what's healthy mean, right? Your attitudes, assumptions about yourself. So three things to think about in this area are what I believe is possible, what I believe I'm capable of, because people could think, well, it's possible for Paul. It's not possible for me, right? And the third thing, if we're going to get really raw in this conversation, what you believe you deserve, right? If you don't believe you deserve to be happy or healthy, you could have the greatest methods, but you're going to self-sabotage. You take one step forward and two steps back. So you have to unlimit your mindset. And so in the section on mindset and limit, because when I wrote the initial book a few years ago, I was like, it was all methodology, how to remember names, how to learn languages, how to read 3 times faster, right? How to solve problems, all the things I thought should have been taught in school. But before I hit send to my publisher, I asked myself this question. I was like, will 100% of the people who read this book get the results they're hoping for? And the honest answer was no, because a lot of people know. Your listeners probably have forgotten more about health, wellness, fitness, diet than most of their friends and family will ever learn, right? So common sense is not common practice. You still have to adjust for the mindset, in terms of, because all behavior is belief driven. If you want to create a new result in your life with your body or health, whatever, your energy levels, some metric, that you hold important, you have to do a new behavior. In order to do that behavior, you need a belief that says it's possible. So for example, at events, if your audience has seen me, if there's time, I'll do this demonstration where maybe I will pass around a microphone and 100 people will introduce themselves and I'll memorize all their names. Or they'll give me 100 numbers or 100 words and I'll memorize them forwards and backwards. But I would tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express you what's possible, because the truth is you could do it too. And I'm talking to the person listening, regardless of your age, your background, your career, your education level, your diet, your financial situation, gender, history, IQ. I've been doing this for over 30 years and we have a lot of data. We have students literally in every country of the world. And we know that it's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart, right? It's just we weren't taught how to do these things. The world has changed a lot. We live in an age of autonomous electric cars, spaceships going to Mars, but our vehicle of choice when it comes to learning, it's like prehistoric. It's like a horse and buggy, right? We're just doing road repetition or just something that's just mind-dullingly slow and not getting us the result for today's age. So going back to this, at events, people say, I'm so glad you're here. I know you're this memory coach. I have a horrible memory, or I'm too old. I'm really stupid. And I always say, stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limits, they're yours, right? Your mind is this incredible supercomputer. I just want to remind people, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering people's names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet, because you program your supercomputer not to, because your mind is always eavesdropping on your self-talk. So the mindset had to be taken care of first in the book before we get to methods. But the second M, so the last one is methods, right? But the second M, going to your question, is motivation. right? Somebody could be in that box and they can have a limitless mindset of what they believe is possible, capable, what they deserve, and still be stuck because they're not motivated to get out of that box, right? And so the key for motivation is three things. This is the formula for limitless motivation: to motivate yourself or to motivate somebody else to do something. You need three things. The formula is P times E times S3. P times E times S3. So let's break that down. The first thing you need is the question you asked. You need purpose. You need to feel that. Um, Here's an example. A lot of people know what to do here in their head, but they're not doing it because they're not feeling it. The key to a long-term memory, by the way, is information by itself is forgettable, but information tied with emotion becomes unforgettable. We all have, Paul, you probably have like a song, you could hear a few notes, it could take you back to when you're a teenager, right? Because the feeling is what helps you to, that part of your middle brain, right? We have that seahorse looking hippocampus for memory, and it's attached to this almond shaped amygdala, for emotions. Emotions and memory are very closely linked. Maybe it's a fragrance or food could take you back to when you're a child, right? So the emotion most people felt back in school was boredom, right? And a scale of 0 to 10, that's 0. And if it's information times emotion is a memory, and that's boredom or 0, what's anything times 0? 0. So people wonder why did I forget the periodic table, right? Because it was emotional state, because all learning is state dependent. But going back to purpose, how I'll illustrate it is, let's take working out, right? As an example. We all know it's good for your brain. You create BDNF, you have, increase those neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, right? It's all good for your brain, oxygen flow, blood flow. But if you're not doing it on a regular basis, where's the purpose? Meaning, I saw this guy on the street the other day and I didn't recognize him, but I thought I did, and I'm a memory expert, right? So I'm like checking myself. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And when he said hello to me, after I heard his voice, I knew who he was, but he looked totally different from the last time I saw him. I mean, he looked 10 years younger. He was like fit. And this person years and years before I last saw him was very overweight, very unhealthy. He took pride in being unhealthy, that kind of idea. That was his identity. And I was like, what did you do? This is amazing. And he started telling me all the things that he does. And I'm like, dude, we've been telling you, our friends have been telling you this for years, right? You never did anything. And he was like, yeah, but I one day he's like, I came back from a business trip and my daughter was crying hysterically. And she had this dream that I died and all this stuff, right? And he found purpose. That's what I mean about having a reason that you could feel as opposed to just in your mind. So P, that's the P, is tapping into the purpose, because reasons reap results. But then somebody can have purpose to work out, or if people seen pictures with me if we're connected on social media with Oprah or Elon or whoever, people say, how'd you connect and how'd you bond? We bonded over books, right? Because leaders are readers, right? If somebody has decades of experience like you do, and you put it into a book and someone could read that book in a few days, they could download decades into days. That's that's the biggest advantage you could have, right? Learning from other people. But if you're not reading every day, maybe you lack the second thing, even if you know the purpose, that the faster you learn, the more you can earn and all this. Knowledge is not only power, it's profit today. You need the E, which is energy, right? Like we have a 10-month-old, and holy moly, like I'm just not sleeping just because it's just like, and he's teething and he's up all night and everything. And obviously I talk about sleep optimization, and we train people all the time in this subject matter. But if you're not sleeping 3 nights in a row, you're not going to be very motivated, talking about motivation, to work out. Or, if you had a big processed meal and you're in a food coma, you're not going to be very motivated to read that day or to do anything. So you have to master your energy. So one of the largest chapters in the book is 10 levers to maximize your mental energy. And then finally, somebody could have limitless purpose and limitless energy and still not be motivated, because I realize that sometimes the thing you want is too abstract or it's too big. Like I want the perfect 8-pack and perfect body, or meet the person of my dreams, live happy ever after, or have 100,000 followers, whatever, right? S3, P times E times S3, stands for small, simple steps. Because an intimidated mind or a confused mind doesn't do anything, right? Even if you're trying to influence and motivate them to buy your product or service, a confused mind's not going to do anything. So a small, simple step, let's say somebody doesn't work out, even though they know it's good for them and they have purpose and everything. Maybe a small, simple step is putting on your running shoes, or your workout shoes. Maybe, reading is so important, but that's not part of somebody's habit. So maybe a small, simple step, opening up a book, reading one line in a book, We have a podcast. It's just a 20-minute show. It's quick, right? We've done for like 400 episodes. And we had a biological dentist talking about oral health as helping your brain health, right? And we were talking about flossing. And I was like, you can't get your kids to floss. Maybe small, simple step, get them to floss one tooth. No one's going to stop at one tooth. So I believe inch by inch, it's a cinch, yard by yard, it's too hard. And how do you find your S3, your small, simple step? This is the magic question. And I ask myself this 10 times a day. When I feel stalled or intimidated or confused or feeling I procrastinate, I just say, what is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal where I can't fail? What is the tiniest action I can take now, operative word now, that will give me progress towards this goal? I'm gaining traction going towards something as opposed to away where I can't fail. And that's what will give you your small, simple steps. So I really think for people who want to overcome procrastination, to do the things they know they're supposed to do, purpose, energy, small, simple steps.